In today's show, we're going to talk about Power Apps troubleshooting and optimization. So I have an app that I built 4 years ago. Yeah, that's right, 4 years ago. And what we're going to do is we're going to walk through that app. So I'm going to use this as a chance to talk to you guys about how I audit an app. So when you throw a new app in front of me, like how do I find my way through it? And then we're going to talk about some of the things that I wish I did differently, right? 4 years ago, Shane is much different and was much better looking than today's Shane. So what we're going to try and do is just revisit this app and show you systematically how I would think about it today. Should be fun. But first, here's our intro. Hi, my name is Shane Young with Power Apps 911. Those guys. And today we're going to talk about Power Apps, troubleshooting, and optimization. So the idea here is that I built that expense report app, right? You probably all have seen it. It's in about a dozen different videos. But I started 4 years ago on that app, and it's just iteratively been used to teach lessons along the way. And so every time I demo it lately, I'm like, man, this app, not exactly sure what I was thinking that day, right? Believe it or not, even I screw up. Of course you believe that. You see me screw up in almost every video. But what I want to do is I want to walk you guys through how I would attack this app, right? So I'm going to pretend like I didn't create it. It'll keep my ego more in check, I think. But I want to, one of the things we do around here at Power Apps 911 is we do a lot of what we call ad hoc support. So we just help people fix their app or optimize their app. And so it's a skill that I've developed over the last few years. I want to walk you through that skill of how do you open up someone's app you've never seen before? How do you find their problems? What are you looking for? What are some troubleshooting tips along the way? We'll probably change a few things because there are some bugs in it that I want fixed. So I'll fix those for certain. Maybe we'll fix other things. Who knows? But the idea here is just to help you guys with that Power Apps optimization and troubleshooting skill set that you're hoping to develop, right? Because very quickly you're going to find that, yes, today you just build apps for you, but as you rise up in your company and become the Power Apps master of the universe, you're going to have to start helping other people with theirs. So the idea here is this is going to help you figure it out. Or maybe you're just looking at your app you wrote several years ago and you want to figure out what you did, which we're going to see me do here as well. All right, let's switch over to my desktop and take a look. Okay, so over here on my desktop, the app we want to attack is the expense report demo pretty, right? Like I said, this app has evolved a lot. It's forked a few times, but the very first one we created in June of 2018. Whoa, long time ago. And so the thing I want to do here as well is I'm going to go here to details. And because the first step of this process is going to be to, protect yourself, right? Like I'm about to go in, I'm going to make some changes and I'm going to go kind of fast. And I want to make sure I don't screw those up. So I want to do a good job. And you can also see that while the live version is from January of this year, I have not, I've made some stuff here. I don't know what I did in these two. So what I really want to do is I want to get back to the current live version to work from, right? You don't have to do this, but this is something I want to do. I want to make sure that I'm not like, I didn't demo something weird for some students here or here and get confused. So we're going to go back to this one, right? And we're going to restore this version. Now remember, you can only restore versions up to 6 months old, right? So that one's about 5 months old. It's exactly 5 months old. So I can restore it. But these are the type of activities that you might want to revisit on an occasion. Because remember that the live version of this app is this build, right? This 2021 build still. And so what does that mean? That means that all the optimizations, performance updates, rendering updates, all of that Power Apps team has rolled out in the last 5 months is not in this app, because when you publish an app, it stays on the version of Power Apps that it was rolled out on. So this one, just by taking this one, opening it up and republishing it, I'd probably get some performance gains. So, all right, so we did the restore. So now that I've done the restore, now we can do edit and start to do that. So hang on, let's let this load. Okay, so the app loaded up. Now the first thing you might see up here, because this app is using something out of component library, it's like, hey, that component library has changed. Oh, so there you go. There's a first fix I can add, or enhancement probably. So we do a review. It was the one from the real library. Now, unfortunately, they don't give you any real details. They don't tell you what's changed here. So if you didn't know what had changed, you might want to stop for a hot minute and figure out, did the change happen? Are you comfortable with it? Or maybe you're just real trusting of the person that makes the changes and you want to roll with it. Either way, you'd want to think about this. And this isn't going to show up in all your apps, right? Everything in here is very specific to this app, but we're just trying to check the boxes as we go. So we're going to say update. And so after a minute, it was successfully uploaded, or after a few seconds, not really a minute. So we'll get out of that. Now there's another warning up here and it's like, hey, this app is using one or more explicitly shared connections. So this app is 4 years old. When it was originally built, it was back when SQL was a premium data source. Or sorry, it was not a premium data source. SQL was free. And so it's got SQL connections in it. So this is just Power Apps telling me this is not a problem, but it does mean, you'd have to solve any licensing stuff with that. So nothing's changing here, but another message we see, we want to figure out what we're seeing. Okay, so now we've gotten through the messages. So where's the very first thing I do? So when I land in an app, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to app and I'm going to check the start screen. So there's nothing here. Fine, that's normal. And then I'm going to check OnStart. So there's a couple reasons I'm going to check OnStart. One is I want to see what code they might have in there. Duh. But two is this tells me a lot about the app builder, right? So there's stuff here, then I know that they know a decent amount about Power Apps, right? Because your beginners don't typically put stuff in OnStart. But I know that there's logic that's firing here before the app even starts. So is the app loading slow? Does the app have weird things? Or, what's going on? This gives me that first foray. Remember, because the idea here and what you're going to see we're going to do is we want to work through this app in the order in which the user experiences it. That's the only way to really get to all the problems that might be going on. So by coming in here and seeing OnStart, it gives me some grounding. So here you can see they're setting some variables. No big deal there. They are getting this one from the value of param, right? So this tells me right away this person has deep linking in this app. There's a video to deep linking if you don't know what that is up there. So they did some deep linking. Then they're like, hey, checking the maintenance. So they put the maintenance screen in. That was another video. I guess I'll put a link to that. Might end up putting lots of video links. I apologize. But so they've got a maintenance screen in here. And then they check to see if there's a parameter. If there's not a parameter, or if there is a parameter, they navigate to my approvals. And if not, they go to welcome. So basically, because the app's not in maintenance mode and the app doesn't have a deep link, it drops them here. Okay, right? But this is what I'm trying to get, right? I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and that's what we're after. So that tells me, cool. Now, the next unobvious place that you should check is actually now you want to click on welcome, and you want to click on OnVisible, okay? Because this is another place where people will hide code that you're like, why is this thing happening? And for example, here it's like set var spinner to true. Well, I know that var spinner is a Boolean variable at this point. And based on that lovely name, good job naming that, Shane. I know that that is creating is used to show like some type of loading pop-up. But if I look over here on the left, I can see intuitively that there is no loading pop-up, right? There's the image there, there's an image there, there's the 4 buttons, and then there is a label in the corner, right? So there is no loading pop-up. So they are setting this variable to true basically for no reason. Now, if you're not positive, right? I'm positive because I know my style. What I could do is I go over here to view and variables, go find var show spinner, right? Which is currently set to true. Click on it and say, where is it used? And look, it is not used, it's only used on the new item screen for controlling these controls, has no indirect uses. So I know that this definition, so this welcome OnVisible, this is not needed, right? So that is a wasted action in this code, right? These are the harder ones to find, but if you're really digging in and you force yourself to prove you need this in all the scenarios, then, it's easy to be, all right, this is gone. Now, you could delete it. Maybe you're the nervous type. I'm usually the nervous type. And I would just comment it out. So this way, if something breaks or all of a sudden I get 1,000 apps or 1,000 errors in the app because I put that in there, then I would know that, taking this out was bad and I need to dig deeper. But it did not cause the little red dot to appear here. So I feel pretty certain that, that is not going to break anything. I could be wrong, but I feel pretty good about that. So you could do that. If you're really thorough, sometimes I would even do this. I'd be like, so yeah, I'd leave some type of little comment like that. Remember, when you think about comments, right? I hate commenting. I hate writing. I don't think about these though as helping someone else. I don't go with the story of I'm putting these here in case I win the lottery or get hit by the bus, depending if you're a glass half full or half empty person. I think about these help future Shane. I really like future Shane, right? He's a happy guy. He sits on the beach a lot, right? And so Future Shane wants to be able to troubleshoot this faster in the future, so I leave these comments for Future Shane. I don't care about my coworkers. I left that for myself. Okay? But by putting my name there, at least makes them feel like I care about them. I don't. Don't tell them. Shh. Okay. So there you go. So now we're grounded here. Right? We know that with this screen in front of us that nothing weird has happened yet, right? We've checked StartScreen, we've checked OnStart, and we've checked OnVisible. Boom. Now the user is experiencing this screen. Now, the next step I'm going to do before I continue, though, is I'm going to go look over here on the right. So I mentioned the app checker already, right? So if we expand this out, you're going to see that, look, the app checker is like, hey, here's all the things going on in this app. Now, we don't have a red dot, so there is no errors. That's good. If you have errors, obviously, you got to go get those dealt with. But you do have, you can see formulas has 3 things. So if we expand this, we're going to see that it's got a bunch of warnings about navigate is not suggested on OnStart. Okay, this is one of those topics that Microsoft and I completely disagree on. The way that we do deep linking today requires you to put it on OnStart. So, poof, don't care, right? But checking what's over here is a good idea. Maybe you're not going to do anything about it. Maybe you're like, yeah, I don't care about these warnings. I wish there was a way to say ignore this stupid warning. I would. But that gives you a chance to do it. Runtime. Sometimes you'll see errors here. These are things that the formula is correct, but when it ran, it failed. One of the most common things that I see here is if you're doing offline, and so you have save data or load data triggering in the browser here, those can't happen, so they will cause runtime errors. But you want to check there for runtime errors. Rules, they're deprecated. We don't really use those. I've never used them to begin with, but hopefully you don't have anything there. If you did, you should check that out. Accessibility. So this is your, sorry, I have 75 of these, so I should go back and fix these. These are warning me that there are accessibility errors, right? So these are things that would make this app not work well for, people using a screen reader or other type of, methods for making this app more accessible. So I've got 75 of those errors. That's a project in itself to come back in here, but you can see that I'm missing a bunch of labels. So I would need to go through, put those in. I'm missing some tab stops and focus isn't showing. So I would need to go revisit all those. Different topic, but important nonetheless. And then last but not least down here, we've got performance errors or performance warnings, I should say. So this is a great place to go and start picking off more unused stuff, for example, right? You can see that if we click here, I have 3 unused variables. So if we go to app, you have to hit this to see it. That var Azure key on OnStart. Whatever reason I put that in there, I never used it. So it's worthless. So what I would do is I'd come up here and once again, I would comment it out because I'm the nervous type. I mean, you probably should just delete it, but nervous types, let's just comment that out. So that one would be gone. I'd go this next one. It's going to say, all right, app var parent has an unused variable. Now this one I think is on a different screen. I think the app is confused on where var parent is. So it doesn't help me find it, boo. But I think we can go over here to view variables. And then if we look in here, do we have, we'll just use the search. Var parent. So it is set on expenses, master gallery, next arrow to on select. It is never used directly or indirectly according to Power Apps. I feel pretty good that, all right, it's probably right that that one's not used. So I can now click here and this is going to take me to it. Now, when I land here, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. It's like circling something in the middle of the screen. So I'm going to go over here and look at the tree view. And I can see that inside master gallery is that next arrow too, but it's like way over here. So why? I don't know. So I would check the visible. It is visible is true. And we saw on select, it is setting a variable that doesn't even get used. So that's not very helpful. Like, I think that that's just garbage left in the app, quite frankly. I think what happens, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change its X. Let's see, go over here to its position, its X. Let's set its X to 0. So what I think this is, and my guess, and so I'm going to go with my guess, is that this is a control that was in the original version of this gallery. like when I first built this gallery, it was big, wide, it wasn't pretty at all. And so when it got rebuilt as pretty, it got lost in the shuffle. So here's an extra control in my app that the variable just helped me trip over. Now, once again, if you're a little nervous, maybe you just set it's visible to false and you leave yourself a note to come check in a month and see if someone complains about something. But looking at its code, I feel good, right? I know that this variable is not used. I know that selecting the parent is done by all this other stuff. So I'm just going to delete this control. Okay, I put my brave face on, I did it. Now, if I click through here as well, so that icon is good, that icon is good. Look, there is another icon over here for delete. So what I'm really seeing is that the arrow and the delete that were originally here, whoever made this app look nicer lost them. And so they just added new ones. So I feel pretty good as well, right? Like the visible, same thing. And if we just change, oh, I missed. If you click on this and set its position to 0, there you go. That one is also just the same thing. So duplicate controls, right? And I just happened to find those because of that random variable that was unused. But those are the types of things I'm looking for as I'm going through an app, right? Like I want to prove out things. I want to follow and chase the rabbit holes. All right. So if we go back over here, oh, let's pull this up. So we can go back to here. Now, if we did a recheck, look, now we got rid of all the unused variables. Yay! Unused media file. So there is a Power Apps 911 with Chewy 512 that doesn't get used. So we can go over here to the media, Power Apps 911 with Chewy 512, and then we can delete this. Now, why is this important, right? Remember that when you have a bunch of media files over here, images, videos, GIFs, I don't know, whatever you call them, they have to be carried with the app. So before this app can be loaded, that has to be downloaded into the browser, right? It's sitting there available to go. Now, in this case, it probably made no change whatsoever, right? It was a tiny file. I deleted it. Who cares? But I've seen people that complain their apps are slow, especially on mobile phones. And then I come in here and they've got 100 megs of images. So that means every time the app gets pulled down from the cloud onto your device, it is pulling down 100 megs worth of stuff. And then it has to hold all that in memory and it has to render all those pictures where you're using them. Don't overdo this, right? Too much media here and too large of media can really wear down your app. All right, so we're feeling good. We'll just do a recheck again. Look at that. Okay, now the last warning that I have over here is inefficient. Oh, I have another one. Oh, I have another unused variable. Let's go finish the variable story. Let's click on my approvals. And so on this one, there is a my approvals on show gallery 2. So let's click over here, my approvals, and then or show gallery 2. So where is that one? So let's try master, all right. So I can't find it that way. I'm not smart enough. So we'll just do this and then we'll go over here. Oh, there it is. So it is a local variable. And so here, this is going to help us. There we go. Master gallery _1, gallery template 1 on select. There you go. Okay. So if we go here to on select, we're going to see that on select does not have this variable, right? That's where it says it should be. All right. I do not know where that one is. So I have seen this before. I wish it wasn't happening right now, but that's okay. This is real world. So this happens to me sometimes, is that we end up with variables, ghost variables, right? So from copying and changing this app over time, somewhere in Power Apps code, it knows there's a variable called show gallery 2, but as you can clearly see, it does not have that variable anymore, right? The variable is not here. So this is just one we're just going to ignore. I have never tried to figure out how to unmess that up. But every now and then we run into cruft like that where it's like, hey, I have a variable, but I can't find the variable's reference here, right? Because it shows us, it tells us that variable is getting created on my approvals. All right, my approvals, my gallery 1, gallery template 1_1 on select. So it is buried somewhere and we can't get to it. So we're just going to, oh, well, now it shows up. How rude is that? All right. Never mind. Let's just delete it. Let's recheck. That is so weird. Okay. I take all that back. We found it. We deleted it. Yay. All right. Next up, we have one more warning. It's an inefficient delay loading. Now, and once again, we're going to get through all my warnings, thankfully, but it's not unusual not to be able to get all of them out. But so what this one is, if we go look, so there is DD type, which is this drop down, it looks like. And so if we click into here, the selection color, and if we read all this, what it's telling us is that, look, the selection color for this one is referencing data card value 18's color. So what happens is if we look, so this is on the view expense screen right here. If we go back to the new item screen and look on the form, there is a data card here. I don't know, let's just search for it. Value 18. There's data card value 18. And so it is pulling properties from that. So that's how it's getting its color and a bunch of other of its settings. Why this is important is in order for this to happen then, right? So what it's telling us is that in order for, let's get rid of the search, in order for your drop-down type here to render, it has to render that whole other screen and render that whole other form and render that whole other control to get data card value 18's color. So it's now carrying two things. It's loading two screens to render this one screen. That's a performance problem. So here, all I was trying to do was get the color black. So why did I do this? I literally don't know. Someone did this working on this app at some point. It wasn't me. And so we can just set that to black, right? Because we didn't really need that color reference. And if we go here, go to drop down type. So, we already did the selection color. Next one. And so chevron hover background is using the hover border color of that control. So this is one of those techniques that like we used 4 or 5 years ago where we would reference other controls to get colors. There's better ways to do it now. Load that data into a collection or a variable and then reference that variable. But so this is one we're not going to fix all of these. These are what all these warnings are, right? So all of the warnings that are over here are just tied to that same type of thing where one control is referencing another. And you don't want to do that as a general rule of thumb. Okay, so if we recheck, we got rid of those two. So we're not going to fix all of those, but I wanted you to understand what was going on with those. So now we've kind of made App Checker happy, or at least we understand what's going on with App Checker. So now let's go back here to welcome. Oh, now look, I broke something. Shocking. What did I break? I mean, these buttons should not be black. They should be purple. So why is it purple? I don't know. Let's click on this one. And let's say, hey, what is your fill? It's var purple. So var purple. So what I'm guessing is var purple got corrupt. So let's go up here. Remember, because var purple was right here. This is why we looked at OnStart ahead of time. I planted the seed in my brain that var purple was here. So what if we just go here and say rerun OnStart? They go back to purple. Shoo! So we did not break anything catastrophic, but by commenting out this, we kind of made all this code mad. So we needed to rerun OnStart after that to get all those variables set back. Ooh, doggy. So now we're good, right? We've got OnStart, we got on StartScreen, we got visible. We've looked at our performance issues, any warnings, any of that stuff. So now what would I do? So what I would tell you to do now is you want to start working through the app as the user. And so to that end, what I'm going to do is I want to create a new expense report. So I'm going to be like, hey, what does this button do? Well, this button resets a form, puts it in a new mode, creates a collection. You can see this really old comment here of a version I used a long time ago. I would probably delete this at this point, right? If it's 4 years old and I don't remember why I wrote it, it's not going to help me tomorrow either way. Like when I comment out code like this without notes, the idea was I was trying something and I wanted to like keep the old stuff. Obviously, what I was trying worked out to be the right answer. So I don't need any of this. So we're just going to blow this away. You know, there's nothing good or bad about deleting it, but right now I know that I have no context to that. So it's never going to help me. So bye-bye. But feel free to leave it as well. So we create a collection. We clear out a different collection, we set a variable, and then we navigate. All right, that all feels safe. I'll hold down the Alt key, I'll click on New Expenses. And so now we land over here. So now what I'm curious about looking at this screen is like, what do the different buttons do? So for example, attach file down here. Well, we'll say on add file, right? Because this is going to be a file upload. So it sets var spinner to true, sets a variable called var Azure file to create it in Azure Blob Storage. So this particular app was before we knew how to save files to a SharePoint directly, right? Remember, I invented that a few years ago. So before that, I had to save them in Azure Blob Storage. So that's why this one uses Azure Blob Storage. So we're not going to use that, or we're going to leave that alone. But this could be a chance to optimize this app, get rid of Azure Blob Storage, and start storing in SharePoint, save us licensing maybe. And then once it saves that, it creates a collection and it stores a bunch of data in the collection, or a record in that collection. It resets the attachment control and it stops the spinner. All right, that's fair. Nothing crazy there. Over here, we know that this form, a couple things I would check on a form like this if I was you. Oh, click on the form. So the data source is expense master. Expense master, looking over here, is a SharePoint data source. All right. And item, so it doesn't have an item. So that tells me that this form is never used in edit mode. It's always used in new mode. So mental note in case that comes up. You don't see that very often. So that's different. So I would, like I said, as I'm auditing this app, I'm just making notes of things. So if weird behaviors happen in a bit, that's what I would want to see. So then over here we have the repeating table, right? Because the idea of this repeating table was, taco and 12.50, and then we'd say save, and then we go down here and be like pizza. That's not how you spell pizza. $11. And keep in mind that putting data in, if you have the opportunity to create test data while you're doing this, makes it easier to troubleshoot. But so now we can kind of see that, yeah, this thing does all this stuff. And so I'd be like, all right, well, what does the edit pencil do? It patches the collection, the record. So the record is showing, so the taco record. It has a column called show save buttons. It sets it to true. And then it updates a contextual variable called edit press to true. Okay, so creating a variable and updating the collection. And that's what is then, if we were to go looking, we'd see like the display mode of this is if this item show save buttons is true, then it's in edit. If not, it's in view. So they're using the collection, changing the data in there, right? And remember, this repeating tables like InfoPath, the whole series is up there if you want to build something like this. Or if you just want to download this whole working app and all the apps, right? You can go to training.powerapps911.com and go to the YouTube library, subscribe over there, and you can get access to all that. Anyway, so that's how these work. I would also be checking these text inputs, like does it do anything on change? It does. So it sets a variable called need saved. Now this is something I don't like, right? What have we learned over the last couple of years? All variables in my world start with var. So I'm tempted to change that, but I would then have to go find all the places that it would be changed, right? And so how would I do that if I wanted to? Once again, we go to this view variables. We go up here to var need saved. I don't know, let's just do the search again. Right there. And so I would need to go fix all four of these places where we change it. So I'd have to go rename it in all four of these places and then go to these two places and change it. And there's none of those. So I'd have to make 6 changes if I want to rename this variable. Honestly, if I was in your boots, I'd probably rename that variable right now. I'm not going to because you don't want to watch me go change it in 6 places. But just keep in mind that when you get it all changed, you want to come back over here and need saved should not be here. It should just be var need saved if that's what you renamed it to. That would be how you know you got all the references to it. Okay. So changing variable names has low value, but I wish I had done it differently. If we look at this save button, we're patching the expense collection with the stuff here. All right. Line cost is a number. I can tell because it's wrapped in a value. So mental note again. If edit pressed, that's another variable. It should be var edit pressed. Boo. If it is, if it's true, then don't do anything is what it says. If it's false, then do collect. Ugh, I would not have written that like that today. What we would do, we would have said if not edit press, let's just do not this way, not like that. And then I would got rid of the true is now just do the collect, and there is no false required. So that's more in line with how I'd do that today. So we'll just fix that one. Remember, little tweaks like that is the right way to do it now, but you got to be real careful that it doesn't cause cascading issues, right? I understood what that code did, so I was able to fix it real quick, but fixes like that, probably not things you actually want to do unless you're really trying to rewrite this app, because it can have unintended consequences. So be careful there. Update context, edit pressed false, sets need saved to false. So this is another thing that I did completely wrong in this app, right? Ready? Shane. I mixed and matched contextual variables and global variables, which isn't okay in itself. But for example, need saved, it turns out, is only used, right? So if we go back over here to view variables, how many times are we going to do this, right? We'll do this saved, global, saved. Look, need saved is only used on, or is only defined on the new item screen and only used on the new item screen. So this is a variable that's contained in one screen. What should need saves have been? It should have been a context variable, not a global variable, right? I'd get better performance. But for a long time, I was very anti-context variables. So once again, something I should do differently, probably not going to fix it, but it's a good lesson for today of something that should have been better. Right? Isn't this fun watching me admit all the things I did wrong? It's real stressful for me, but who cares, right? Anyway, so that's good. So now we'll just go back up here. So that's what that button did. What does this one do? It removes the item from the collection and then sets needs saved false. So nothing too crazy, right? We're not getting into the functionality. We're just looking for more bad code. Okay. So then over here, I want to do a save. So save, set var spinner to true, right? Once again, var shows spinner to true. What should it probably have been? It probably should have been a contextual variable, I'm guessing. We're not going to go look, but I'm pretty sure that one probably should be a contextual variable as well. And then it submits form. So submit form, right? I like that. I like that. So then we'll go here to form 1. And form 1, we know it's on a new mode. And so then we say on success. All right. So what are we doing here? We're setting var master ID to form 1 last submit.id. You should check. I bet you $1 that I don't need that to be a global variable. I bet you another $1 that I don't need to be a contextual variable. I probably could just do a with because I probably only use it here. Investigate that. I'm not going to, but places to check. For all expense collection, if it's not blank, I patch expense collection. So I'm creating new stuff in expense details, which is a SharePoint list with all this data. Now, what we found in a recent video a couple months ago was there's a more efficient way to do this. So look up there for how instead of using for all, I could have done like this bulk patch. Probably wouldn't help this app because it doesn't have a lot of stuff, but like one of my customers, my dear friend Greg in South Africa, his app, we do a large bulk upload and it takes a really long time and it might have 100 records in there to upload. And so for him, we had to write some crazy code. But we got out of this for all and got into the new patch methodology, which does it in one call, which has greatly increased the performance of his app. So chance to make it faster. For all collect receipts. So here you can see I'm using SQL as a data source, but other than that, it's the same thing. Once again, I only use SQL as a data source because it was a free data source back then, and I wanted to show you could have SharePoint and SQL in the same app. It probably doesn't make any business sense to have two different data sources, so this would be another chance if you wanted to revisit your data sources and be like, hey, maybe I should get this into Dataverse now because we have premium licensing. You know, but an app with SharePoint and SQL storing random data doesn't make the most sense today. My email looks pretty normal. I'm okay with that. We navigate off to the welcome screen and we set var spinner to false. All right. So lots of little things in there to think about. You know, and once again, nothing's broken. everything works. This app has worked for 4 years. But these are things I could do better and differently. So we'll go back over here to the welcome screen. And we're going to ignore the approval screen because this video's already gotten too long, quite frankly. But monthly reports, this just opens up a Power BI report for all this. So we don't really care about that. We're not going to go fix their Power BI, but that's what that button does. So the last one I want to look through here, I know there's a bug on this one. I want to fix the bug. So we're going to say view and edit. Actually, there's 2 bugs over here. So here we can see, all right, what's the first thing you want to do when we land on the screen? We want to check to see, is there anything OnVisible? Oh goodness, there's a lot. So look, I am creating a context variable. I'm creating in 3 global variables. Once again, the variable challenge. Are these all necessary? Or do they all need to be global? Probably not. We're not going to troubleshoot them because we already talked about how to do that, but I would revisit that. But remember, when you land on a new screen, checking the OnVisible, great thing to do just to make sure they're not sneaking some weird code in on you. So now if we go down here, the gallery. So the gallery, oh goodness gracious. So it is sorting the data, it is searching the data, it has a conditional inside here, a filter inside here. That is a pretty complex scenario. Here's what I now know in hindsight about that, right? I was really smart when I wrote all that. No, what I know in hindsight is that this thing is using search against expense master, which is a SharePoint list. What do we know about SharePoint in the search function? It does not delegate, right? But this is a classic example of Power Apps is not telling me that there's delegation issues because Power Apps is confused by the 17 layers of code here. So this is on me to realize that, hey, if I'm going to have more than my delegation limit of expense reports, this code doesn't work. So do I need to have an archiving solution here? Is that why people can't find their old expense reports right now? Like, Power Apps is not telling me this is not delegating, but I promise you it's not. And one of the ways you can always go and confirm that, right, is you go over here to settings, set your delegation limit down here to 1. So if something's not delegable, you'll only see 1 item. And then our data source is expense master. So data source expense master, we'll refresh that one. And zip, 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 we only see 1. So we know that that is broken and has delegation issues, even though Power Apps is not warning us. So that is something that needs to be either fixed, or we're a small company. We're never going to have more than 500 or 2,000 expense reports. We don't care. Or we have an archiving solution that archives all the expense reports older than 3 months. So we're never going to hit the limit. So I'm not saying that this is wrong, but I need to, as part of my audit, catch things like this where delegation is not happening and make sure that it makes sense. All right, so let's just choose this first one. Doesn't matter. But what should you remember to do? Oh, we should probably just go fix this because if I don't, it's going to mess it up. Oh, so file, settings, and go back down here. Change this back to 500, 2000, whichever number you're rocking with, and then redo this. And now we can choose this top record that has some data. Great. Okay, so we got that. Now, if we use this thing, and if I go edit taco, right, this is one of the bugs I knew was here. And we're just going to change the taco to 501 or 5001, right? Expensive tacos. If I hit save, it updates everything. That works. But then this form is still displayed. Boo. This is what caused this whole video, is this one problem. So if we look, when we submit, it submits a form like it should. So then if I go look at the form that it submits, which is, what is the name of this form? Edit line item form. So on success of this form, what is it doing? Let's click on the form. On success of this form, what is it doing? It's patching expense master, the master Gallery.Selected. Ooh, we know I don't like Gallery.Selected, so it probably should be patching var record instead, or something of that effect, but that's all right. We'll talk about that in a second. And it's setting var items gallery to blank. So that's how it's figuring out what to update. But what it's not doing is it's not hiding this form. But if we look at the X right here, this one is using a variable set show form 2 to false to do that. So I copy that, And we'll just go back over here to here and say, hey, on success, do that and do this. Now, if we click on, let's just go click on a different one here for a second. If we click on taco, we edit this, we set it to 501 like we meant to, delete, we say save. Now it saves the data and it hides the stuff. Much better, right? So little thing like that, but little fixes sometimes may be the happiest. So what is this doing? This is selecting parent. What is the parent gallery over here doing? Where are we at? So on select this, what are you doing? You're updating a variable. You're setting var gallery item to this item and setting show form to false. That makes sense. But what does that tell me? That var gallery item, that's what this should be filtering by. It is. But remember over here, what did we see on success of this form? On success of this form, I did it again. On success of this form. See, I clicked there, it highlights the wrong thing. It confuses me. So this is patching master gallery.selected. I didn't want that, right? I wanted var, what did I want? Var gallery item. So that'll get this record that is getting created over here, var gallery item. And that just avoids that whole problem with sometimes the gallery resets or has got the wrong thing selected and then you're updating the wrong data. So that's another pattern that we've put in place over the last couple of years. I think there's a video for that up there too. But there you go. And then delete. What does delete do? It would delete this item and then, oh, it would update the wrong variable again. So let's do that. Var gallery item. This should say var gallery item. This should say, oh, var, it's the items gallery, the little one. So many things to remove. Remove expense details. So this is var. Nope, var items gallery. All right. Oh, I would also probably put inners in here like this so I could see these better. All right. So there you go. So that got away from using the gallery.select. Remember, we don't like to use gallery.select. I already linked to the video that talks about why I don't like that if you don't know about that concept. Now, the other thing I want to make sure that this app does, I think the last thing, because this video's gotten way too long, go over here to delete. So var delete says true, so we know that's safe to click. So we'll click on that. Okay, I did a good job here. Yay me. So when I do the delete, one of the things that I want to harp on you is make sure you're not creating orphans. So it's been real easy just to say when I click on delete to remove the parent item, but it needs to go remove the parent item. It needs to remove all the children items, right? So the children items being the items, the tacos and the pizza here. And then it needs to remove all of the SQL records, and then it needs to delete all the stuff out of Azure Blob, which it's actually not doing. So I would need to go add that functionality. But making sure you don't have orphans, very important, but also then making sure, like, that's why I have this screen, this text here really shows me all of the pieces of the puzzle that it is doing. So then that way I can be like, all right, if I click on this, I know it's going to delete 2 children items, the tacos and the pizza, which is good. And I know it's going to delete 1 SQL item, picture of Chewy's nose. So I feel like it's not going to do a bulk delete, which is always my fear of doing deletes. And there you go. I have spent way too long doing this, but hopefully you guys enjoy this. Hopefully you've learned a little bit about how I go through an app, how I think about an app, and how I would fix my own app 4 years later, right? These are all important skills for you guys to develop. Being a good detective, A, helps you learn, right? So like if you steal my app because you subscribed over to the training site, then you should be able to detective and work your way through my app and figure out how I did things using these methods. But it also helps you be a better friend and ally to people that need your help with their Power Platform. Because if you can open up someone's app and go through it like this piece by piece, then you've developed, you've gone to another level of being great at Power Apps. Questions, comments, thoughts, leave them below. Ideas for future videos. Or is there more you want to see me do? Is there something in the code you saw that you thought I should have fixed that I didn't call out? Let's talk about it. Leave it down and I will try my best to answer all those. Yeah, and I guess with that, I'm going to say thanks and have a great day. Hey, me again. Before you go, click on the subscribe button, right? Join the list of 100,000 plus people that have subscribed already. Or if you need any help, right? Check us out at Power Apps 901. We do big projects, little projects. We do training. We do everything, and we can help you. Or if you want to see more videos, you probably do, then just click on the playlist above. Cool? Thanks, and have a great day.